I'm Will Flanagan from Frontier Developments, and you're listening to the Loose Screws podcast. Remember, always keep your fuel tanks full and your O7s poised.
Hey guys, it is June 22nd, 2020. This is Loose Screws. I am Ty Worsham, and with me is Chig and Trax as normal, but also with us this morning or this afternoon, depending on which time zone you're in, is the one and only Stephen Benedetti. How's it going there, sir?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing great. And of course, also is the one famous for the Brucey bonus. Bruce, are you our newest community manager or is it Tim? I can't remember. You guys.
I just beat Tim. I think he joined maybe 2 months or so into my time here, something like that. So
was it that long?
Not quite the newest. But yeah, it's been surprisingly long. I've been here like nearly 4 months now.
Wow.
I say the same thing every time.
Time flies in space.
I can't believe it's been 4 months. It seems like it was just yesterday because we had anyway. I'm so glad you guys are joining us this morning. I want to thank you guys for taking time out of y'all's schedule for this. So one of the things that everybody's wanting to talk about is Odyssey, of course, but we're not ready to discuss Odyssey, but I want to talk about fleet carriers a little bit with you guys. So going back to the initial release of actually just the initial announcement way back in, I guess it was November or August, I think, of last year, where we saw the wonderful fleet carrier coming out of the video and all that. I think that was at Gamescom, wasn't it?
Yes, I think it was.
Yeah, it was Gamescom. Mm-hmm.
So we saw that, and back then we had the fleet carrier, and we had support ships, and then they were postponed in, I believe, September or October, and then we got them I guess 3 weeks ago now, or 2 weeks ago now. Mm-hmm. I want to talk about how that whole process went, because it seems like they drastically changed from what they were to what they are. And I love what they are. I really, really like what they are. So I was curious, how did that whole evolution take place?
Yeah, well, I'm happy to jump on that one. So what's really a great thing about the games industry, it's kind of a cursing and a blessing, is that a lot of game design is a collaborative, iterative process. So there's always the vision of what you want something to be, a feature to be, and that's what Fleet Carriers is that the vision was to have this mammoth mega ship where people could come together and store their carriers and jump far, and to kind of be a new tool to expand your gameplay and the gameplay of people around you to make a really big impact and effect on the galaxy. And originally what you saw was these support ships, and the idea was that these support ships would come and they would become standard for the different kind of play styles, the different play styles that you can choose, obviously, between mining, combat, trading, exploration. They were all predefined, which at the time was what we were going with and what we were quite happy with and what we felt met the vision. But after discussing with the dev team and the different processes were going on, we made the decision, obviously, to move our focus from fleet carriers and focus on bug fixing, because we heard from the community and we listened to the community, and it was something that they were really asking for, which is totally right. It's over time, games need maintenance and fix-ups, and sometimes bugs appear, and we need to. And it was just a kind of shift in focus and our priority, and that's why it was then delayed. But then that gave us the ability to go back and relook at fleet carriers and go, is this 100% the vision that we want them to be? And the question is, and what we've tried to do with fleet carriers now is, it's your ship, it's your fleet carrier. That was the really important sell and the driving force behind a lot of things that we've done. So for us to give you a standard layout, that's not your fleet carrier, that's not your own experience and your own ship to have. So we wanted to change that, and that's why we kind of got rid of the support ships, and now we added more customization to the fleet carriers. So again, it's an iterative process. It's always trying to get towards a goal, and the designers and the producers and the whole team done a great job to really get fleet carriers to exactly what we wanted, which is, like you said, what we released 3 weeks ago.
So I guess what I hear in the answer then is like, at first this starts, the delays kind of start because you want to refocus, right? We want to step back and do some bug fixing, but then the extra time gives this perspective of maybe this isn't exactly what we wanted. And I guess where we've landed now, it is a little bit more like the spaceships that we're used to, where you're changing modules out. In this case, you're changing like the services out instead of having those locked into a certain carrier type. Does that sound right?
Yeah, that sounds bang on. And it's really important that you've got to remember, every time you put something into a game, a new feature, there is different constraints. There is the, you watch those shows and you've got the designer and they've got this big, massive idea. I don't know if anyone's seen that Mythic Quest that's been on TV. And it's
not I.
It's a comedy.
Not heard of it.
No one. It's basically a TV show about a game studio, and this one of the programmers, the lead programmer, wanted to put in a shovel. That was her big thing. She really wanted a shovel, and the lead designer took the shovel and he's like, "We need to turn it into a weapon." And she was like, "No, I don't want it to be a weapon." And it shows a really fun side, but a kind of true side of what the games industry is like. It's we wanted to focus our efforts on fleet carriers being a certain thing, and that can change. And sometimes you can get better ideas, and sometimes you get a wee bit extra time, and sometimes you can then adapt it to be more true to the vision. And I think once it got to that point, is that the team realised that the support ships, even though they were a great idea and they looked awesome, they kind of restricted what you were going to do. So this way, by taking them away and putting our focus and giving you the ability to rechange them, I feel that really made a kind of stronger, more honest version of what we wanted fleet carriers to be.
It's in the spirit of an open world game, open galaxy game, I should say.
Well, you guys had said in one of the live streams, actually it might have been one of the developers, that you were just excited to see what players would do with these, and see where they would go, because you were just giving us another tool in the sandbox to play with, and you wanted to see, what kind of sandcastles we would make or destroy or whatever. And that's what I found most interesting with these, is the things that people are doing with them. I mean, we used one the other day, where I actually jumped, halfway across the bubble to a friend's fleet carrier so that he could jump me to a station that was 700,000 light seconds away from the star. Just little things like that we're using them for.
In the system you were already in.
Yes, in the system I was already in. I jumped halfway across the bubble to jump back to the system that I was in. So it was interesting. And I mean, what are you guys seeing, people use it for? Anything new and interesting that you guys have heard of? I mean, obviously the DSSA, putting them all over the galaxy and stuff, but is there any other interesting, things you guys have seen?
So yeah, the DSSA is a really good example. For anyone who hasn't heard about it, you should definitely check it out. I think it's a really good forum post, and they have their own website. Am I right in saying that? All set up?
I think so. Yeah.
Definitely worth checking out. It's quite an incredible achievement. I think they've locked in 100 carriers for setting up the array, and it's a very impressively coordinated affair. But in terms of other things, so I've seen things like almost like a taxi service, like people scheduling jumps with their fleet carrier for people to like hop on, say, to go like farming materials or something like that. And that's a really cool sort of emerging thing to see, which is, it's not specifically tied to any of like the core gameplay loops like mining or trading or combat or whatever. It's maybe something that players have come up with themselves, which is nice to see. It's kind of funny actually, because during the pre-launch sort of phase, people were asking for, what can we do with fleet carriers? And, we have maybe a few examples where it might be good to be able to jump that extra range. But really it was a case of, like you say, we're giving you these tools that are capable of more than your standard ships are. Go out and play with them, and you find out what you could do. And that's exactly what's happened. So it's really nice to see.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's really fun. Like, as soon as we released Fleet Carriers, Bruce, myself, and Tim, we just went on and we were just watching everybody try to get on them and everybody use them, and to see what they were doing and to see what they were talking about. And it was just really cool. It was really fun to kind of see. I mean, I always go back to this. It was my old lecturer talked about in QA, and he was working on a game, and they wanted to start the game with this big, beautiful scenery of the game they designed. But when they gave it to testers and outside testers, people kept blowing stuff up and dying instantaneously and just destroying the whole place. So they ended up having to stop that and just start it like in the basement, because they didn't know what people were going to do. So it's wonderful and amazing and chaotic to see what players do when they get these things.
I, for one, have seen, especially if you go anywhere near where mining is taking place, the system chat is crazier than it ever was in Shinra to Desra. Usually there's a few places where there'll just be an active system chat going on, but nothing the likes of which I've ever seen before until you get near where people are mining and hopping on each other's carriers, advertising when they're going to jump so that people can hop on. And then I've seen people in the same chat, like they just got dropped off and said, actually, I need you to increase your low temperature diamonds demand on your fleet carrier because I wanted to leave you a tip for the taxi. And they're like working that out right in real time, right in the chat. It's pretty neat.
That's awesome.
How are you guys feeling about, because there's, for the first time in Elite, you can kind of trade credits. It's a little muddy, but you can do it. How you guys from Frontier's point, how are you guys feeling about that?
So obviously trading credits was a big thing that people have been asking for quite some time. And I think now is a really good place to put it in, the way it's been designed and the way it's been pulled together. And obviously these kind of things incur risks, but it's risks that we're very aware of. We've had meetings about it, and we've discussed the different possibilities and how safe it is and how we can monitor it and kind of protect our players. So we understand that it was something that people really wanted. We've now got that opportunity, but like in a kind of more controlled environment. So we're quite confident with it, and I think it's been going well. I've not heard too much issues. Right.
The danger of it, sorry, just add on to what Stephen was saying, is it's not like we've introduced a whole like player economy to a full extent. It's limited in the sense that a fleet carrier is required in the first place. So it is a big step in that, a full sort of in-game economy between players is possible, and it's a case where the groundwork is somewhat laid for that with this, should we choose to go in that direction in the future. So it'd be interesting to see how that kind of thing does get managed. More on that later, I suppose.
I mean, it does feel like a test bed, and that's kind of what I'm hearing from you a little bit, as you're kind of seeing where it goes.
In a sense, we've got no future plans at this time to do anything more with it than what we have. Basically, and when that changes, we will let people know. But as it kind of stands at this moment, we have no future plans towards it.
Gotcha.
It has a pretty good kind of slow mode. Oh, sorry, Chick. I was just going to say it has a pretty good slow mode on it, like you said, in the case of actually needing the fleet carrier in the first place. But then also, it is kind of laundered through the commodity markets and sort of changing the buy and sell orders and stuff. It's not just as simple as a click. So,
right.
Yeah, it fits into the universe and yeah.
So, kind of going back to the beta process, when you guys did the initial beta back in, I think it was April, or was it May? Anyway, when you guys did the initial beta, there was a large outcry about upkeep and the prices and stuff. And then I think a week or two right after that, you guys adjusted a bunch of things. And to me, it felt like when y'all rolled this out, you guys or the dev team was smart enough to just basically say, hey, we're going to leave a bunch of knobs here that we can adjust because we know we're going to have to adjust it. We don't know what we're going to have to set it to, but we know we're going to have to adjust it. And it kind of feels like that design process might be moving forward with other things y'all might be working on. So
yeah. Yes. Sorry. It's quite an interesting one. That's what's really important about betas, and it's kind of one of the big reasons why we did it. Like we said, we have no idea what the players will do with certain things. There's so many different possibilities. So having these betas go out and get that player feedback, we want to use that opportunity not only to test the things if they break, but also to test in the features that we've got. Just by playing it helps us. So having that feedback on the costs, and because there was a big outcry that they were far too expensive and the upkeep was too high. But there was also some people who thought that was the right price for it, because, like we said, when you're introducing a feature, there's a vision for it, and we want this to feel like a ship that you've earned, and it's a big deal, it's a huge deal. And the hardest thing is to kind of input numbers that that might detract from that feeling, or turn that into a negative. So it was invaluable feedback from the community when it came to those numbers, and we're very fortunate here at Frontier, because the amount that us and the CM team actually speak with the designers and the producers and everybody else is a really great statement of our communication, because they do listen, and a lot of them already, like a lot of the developers, read the forums and go and see what you guys are saying, because they're really proud, and we've got a great community response and platform for that.
Yeah, definitely. And to add to the topic of the price, so that initial beta was quite eye-opening in a few ways. Obviously, the main point really was that the upkeep was too high, but we also had a lot of people saying that 5 billion credits was asking for too much as an upfront payment. But what we found was, after the initial pulling back of the upkeep cost, the 5 billion credit sort of complaint really didn't completely vanish, but it was far more acceptable to players. So there was a real benefit to rolling out 2 betas to really get the sort of major stuff out of the way the first time, and then focus on sort of fine tuning for the second one. It was good that we did it in sort of a 2-step process to really identify that stuff.
Well, I have to imagine you guys have all of the actual numbers. You knew how many players had, a gazillion credits, and how many players could afford that upkeep and stuff, and that you probably had an idea of how many fleet carriers you wanted in game with that original number. And then with the outcry, you realized, well, we probably overshot the mark, even though, a lot of people could afford it. They don't want to pay that kind of credit sink into it. And you guys have access to tons of data. I mean, how many fleet carriers have been purchased across all platforms? Do you have that number?
We do have that number. I don't know if it's something. Is that okay, Stephen?
I like it. I like it. Yeah.
I suppose it's in game, so you could really go and count them if you wanted. So I don't think it's.
I think you should give them a rough number.
Yeah. We're talking sort of around. I think it's around 6,000 carriers are in the game.
Oh,
something like that.
Whoa.
Well, yeah. Just a lot of players had a lot of credit. Is what that says.
Yeah,
So.
and like you say, we did have a sort of percentage in mind when when we picked the 5 billion number. We knew roughly how many players would be able to buy them at that point. But you have to remember, as soon as we add something that's that expensive to the game, which hasn't been done before, that number's going to increase massively, because suddenly there's an incentive to grind that many credits or reach that, if you're, say, at 3 billion or 4 billion, just to do a little bit more. So we knew it was going to go up anyway. So we weren't too worried about that.
A little bit. We had a discussion on the show the other day about, ways to earn credits and how mining is the absolute meta. It's the only way to really earn, that volume of credits. Is that by design or just the way that it's worked out?
So, I mean, that's a really good question. So obviously with the different, you've got mining, exploration, combat, trading, all these things we try and balance them for what they are, for player input and return. It's basically the way you want to do it, if there's a sense of doing that. There's also the economy, and the economy is ever changing. It's the way that obviously Elite Dangerous works is just vast. It has been discussed. We have talked about the different balancing of the different play styles and what should we get to look at and should we update them or fix them, and it's constantly going through the development team. So with everybody talking about mining being too much and combat not being enough, that's something that the developers are looking at. That's why we saw mining changes come out. I know a lot of people said that with Pay Night and when that went down, they thought it was a thing. It's a rebalance, it's a restructure of what's going on to try and make sense through that data and through what we've got. So it is something that the development team are aware of, that the players feel that there's this imbalance. That's come through design and changes and trying to keep that balance within the game and the different modes. So the development team have been listening. It's not been ignored. It's just, what do we do next? How do we fix that? How do we adapt and change that and move forward?
So I mean, it's a little. I mean, do you just have simple knobs they can turn, and they don't want to make those adjustments? Or
I don't think it's as. I mean, I think it'd be nice if the dev team had like a dashboard with a set of dials on it where you could turn stuff up and down. But I think realistically, it's not as simple as that. Even if at face value you think, oh well, just times the numbers a couple, double or triple the numbers per hour on some of the other methods. But it isn't that simple. Like we say, we've got a complicated system with the market system. In the way that prices for things like low temperature diamonds are generated. But we do hear players saying, it would be nice to bring everything up to a sort of similar level. I've had conversations with players about this quite a lot, and with the dev team. It would be nice to. I think what we would like to achieve is have all of the gameplay loops sort of be viable, like within a range of each other, where you might say, okay, I know that this specific thing I want to do, say it's running missions for a certain faction. I know this is not quite as profitable as mining at the moment, but it's close enough that I prefer it and it's more fun for me. Therefore, I'm going to do it. If we could get them to within that kind of range, I think that would be great.
So can I offer just a suggestion since I got you guys?
Of course.
I don't want the prices on combat or bounty hunting to change. I think they're fine. What I want is kind of more interaction. Like when you destroy a bounty, maybe his escape pod ejects and you can scoop it up and go turn them in for more money. Or maybe like when you destroy a ship, maybe there's some, beyond just the materials, maybe there's some salvage there that you could get would be worth more money. That way there's more interaction with it than just a simple bounty you go turn in. I think that'd be far more interesting. So
adding to the loop instead of just changing the numbers associated with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. And like we said, we are always really open with player feedback, and it is something that we do discuss with the devs. We do have these conversations, so that's a great idea. It's definitely something we can bring up.
And you can even expand all that. Like say you go kill a pirate lord and his escape pod ejects and you scoop it up. Well, maybe they send ships to interdict you on the way back.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyway.
My feeling about the whole thing was kind of, I think the focus when I hear these complaints, when they are complaints, I should say, when I hear complaints in the discussion about the disparity between one profession and another, it seems to be focused on credits. And I've always felt like the point was being missed, that they think that credits are the ultimate reward, because each of the gameplay loops has other things associated with it that are rewarding. whether it's putting your name on distant worlds or the different, most of the combat stuff has other stuff related to BGS or factions, and missions, of course, affect factions in the background simulation heavily. So each has other things that are sort of included in the reward. And I kind of think of the fun of the game as being part of that. You know, some things like laser mining a rock would be quite boring next to combat or running scan missions or something like that. So that's kind of how I thought of it. And that maybe that has to do with the kind of the complication level of what you're talking about. It's not as simple as turning a knob.
Oh God, yeah, nothing is as simple as turning a knob.
Yeah, I think those are really important things to bear in mind as well. There's multiple factors, not just, are there other benefits like you mentioned, but also things like skill level required, how much effort. So I don't know if this was going to come up or not, but it feels like kind of a natural segue. But with the recent subsurface changes to mining, it does still make sense that the more the methods, that require a bit more effort or skill, like subsurface mining, like core mining, as opposed to just laser mining, it would make sense that they have a better payout. Just in the same way that mining, which may not be rewarding in so many other ways, is more lucrative than, like, say, exploring somewhere brand new, which at least you get to slap your name on. Even if, in general, we would still like to see some increases there, maybe it doesn't warrant being exactly as lucrative as, say, something like mining.
Yeah, and on the exploration side, if you want to make it more lucrative there, you could do something similar where you have to use the research Olympics to go get a sample of a rock or something off a planet. Something like that would be, then you take it back, turn it in somewhere, and you get a bonus off of it somehow.
Or you could have like your own wee flag that you shoot down and it goes right into the planet. An actual flag.
Well,
and if somebody's XRV was there, it just gets blown up instantly. I just want to point out that is not an official statement. That is just me being funny or trying to be.
Planetary darts confirmed by Stephen Benedetti.
Well, Mike, a couple questions. Livery on the fleet carrier right now. The paint always going away is kind of odd, but we really want to know about the 07 change. Why was that backed up? That was a cool little Easter egg.
Yeah, actually, it was just something that, we don't know the exact reason why it didn't work, but basically at that point I think the development team told me, I don't know if you know any more, Bruce, but I was just told that it was an issue and it's now been fixed. And it was actually a really cool we touched that 07, and do you know what makes it even scarier is that it was just a bug and it was a fix. But why was it on 07? Why was it not on 08 or 11?
That was brilliant.
Yeah, we want it back. Put it in the ARC store.
One of our friends who's in the community, in our Discord a lot, actually submitted a bug ticket when it was fixed to fix the fix. So we've all extended our support there. We're hoping for good news from the bug team on that.
Get that to the top issue in the issue tracker. Everybody who's listening, go and vote on it and get it to number 1 to get it back to the 07.
Bring back the 07.
I think it's what it should be called. Bring back the 07. Oh no, I want to get into trouble. We're starting like a revolution.
Yeah, you guys can't put your support behind this. At least not yet.
Whose side are you on, Stephen?
He's on the right side. He's good. No, one of the things that with that 07, I was the bug fix. Customization options. You want to make that its own little customization? I'll give you guys $5 for that. Like, no kidding. I loved it.
I mean, we'll definitely, like we said, let the team know that we want to get the 07 back. That is in high demand.
Well, see,
I'm pretty sure Ty was saying he'll give you personally $5.
just give me your PayPal. Just give me your PayPal. I'll make it happen.
This is an actual bribe.
This is definitely bribed. Bribed on it. Yeah, no. Unfortunately, I need to turn that down. But maybe we can talk after the show.
Well, so let me ask you guys this, because I've been wondering this. I'm going to go back to the support ships real quick. Were they ever supposed to dock with the fleet carrier? Because on the current fleet carriers, I see like these little docking ports or these couplings or what do they look like? Now, I got the impression that the support ships were supposed to dock.
Do you know what? It would be really nice to tell you more, but at the time, so I've, like Bruce, only been here for a certain amount of time. I've actually only been here since last, I think it was July I started, so it's nearly July, September, and that's nearly been a year for me here. And obviously, when I came in, it took me a while to get up to speed and to do all the different stuff, and then to hear about fleet carriers. So I never had the opportunity. Others did in the team, but I never had the opportunity to see them fully complete with the ships. So that'll just be speculation if not our next. But it's a very interesting question, and it's one that I might have to dev team later on.
Yeah. We've been kind of discussing internally. I think that they docked because it just makes me think that they did. So
yeah. I think the original idea was they were supposed to like come over them, and you could get stuff from them to obviously like all the different stuff you can now get in the fleet carriers. In a sense, it would provide that stuff for you. It does make sense that they would dock because that means that they could transfer the items in. But again, I wouldn't take that for gospel. That would be if I was to speculate a guess. I would agree with that.
Sorry, I had my mic muted.
I was about to take over.
No, go ahead.
Well, I don't want you guys to think that I think you're responsible for bugs and stuff like that. But one of the next things on the list is just kind of one of the things everyone is talking about is Ty's Type 9 that's parked on his fleet carrier named Fuel Transfer Hose, because it seems like the only way to move fuel around these things was to do so through a ship, and that I guess was sort of the next thing that I'm not a fleet carrier owner, so I was actually only doing this because Ty's mic was muted.
Yeah, so kind of what you have to do is you guys probably know you have to have a ship that has a lot of cargo, and you're moving a tritium from your storage on your ship on your fleet carrier to the tritium depot. You actually have to move it by ship, which in my mind I got this image of like an old aircraft carrier that's not nuclear powered, of them having like an F-18 sitting up on deck that they run a hose to fuel it up and then run it back down to the ship. It seems very inefficient. So,
so this was one of like the main. I say main. One of the more common bits of feedback we got after the end of the second beta. We know you guys want like a direct transfer, and I think I would agree that it makes sense. It's one that we passed along to the dev team. It wasn't something we were able to add in time for full launch, but that's not to say that we don't know about it. We do, and that it may come in the future.
Yeah, it sounds like possibly one of those invisible to us players kind of code, inside the game kind of things that's more complicated than it might seem on the surface to us.
It's quite possible. I think if it was an easy change, it would have been added, but then I'm not a dev and I don't know the technical aspects of it. But yeah.
So is there any way we can get a designated landing pad? Like, I'm the fleet carrier owner, I'll always want to land on 07. I know it's one of those things that you think it's like a cruel joke, and it's like I think people have shown up. I think I was watching Xechius' stream, and he showed up, and everybody had landed on his landing pads and wouldn't leave. They wouldn't let him on, which is just hilarious. Of course, it's one of those things as well. It's when we're dealing with the fleet carrier, the different ways of. The reason it's not happened, like Bruce said, it could be because it's more difficult than the time that we have to change it and to get it in. And when you release a feature of any size, there's always the time constraints, and then what comes into it, and what you can do within that time, and what you want to do. And unfortunately,
it's just one of those things that's not went in. But again, we have passed it on to the dev team, and they are aware that that is a big want from the community, is a dedicated space.
I'm imagining like almost like the mail slot you get on a station, but just in the front of your fleet carrier, you just fly straight in. No, okay.
Yeah, like that. I like that. Yeah, I'd like that. Just kind of like the front bit, kind of like what are they called? It's not Transformers. Voltron. You know, where your ship becomes the head. Yeah.
I like it. Oh yeah.
5 super lions all come out of nowhere.
Oh man, now I'm starting to think about Voltron. Y'all got me.
So good.
Daughter's into Voltron big time. She's got multiple sweatshirts and stuff.
I was going to say me too, but I really don't. I just enjoy it.
Well, so since we're kind of on this subject here, and I got you guys. Is there any way we can get the clock on the
station panel when you land, the one that's right in your face? That's something the buckyballers use to actually track their runs and take screenshots of and stuff like that. And I remember that was like sort of day one on the beta. Everybody was like, or everybody, the buckyballers we know were all like, oh no, the new design is great, except it's missing a clock. And we haven't heard any word one way or the other if that would come back.
Yeah, so this feedback reached me through Kai, actually. From the buckyballers through him. And I passed it along to the devs, so they know about it. They know that it's wanted. It's not ever easy to change the UI like that. I think it would require a point update. So it's something I've told them about, and we'll see whether or not they put it back in, but there's no confirmed date for that going back. I know that in the meantime, it's not ideal, and sometimes the lighting and graphical sort of surroundings affect it, but there is the alternate time clock is in the top right panel.
Right.
Even if it's not quite as good and it doesn't have the date on it, I don't think, just the time. But there is that.
Yeah. And remember, time is relative in space. So.
Okay, I've got a question for you. I know if I don't ask, our listeners will be upset. This might be a bit controversial, so just if you don't want to answer, don't. But from both of you guys, what's your favorite cheese?
Oh, that's a good question. I quite enjoy a Comté.
Ooh.
I didn't go for the kind of brie gooey thing. It's quite sad. As you know, I'm from Glasgow, and Glasgow is a very beautiful city, but we're known for being quite rough. And my father was quite upset with me when he realised that I went to Cambridge, and actually I now have a cheese guy.
You have a cheese guy? You have a hook up for cheese?
I have a guy who I get special cheese from. So there's a guy with a van, and he had like Comté and all these different types of cheeses. So when I was down there before the lockdown, every second week I would go and I would get a different cheese from my cheese guy and go to the bread guy, the stall with the bread guy. So.
I'm a little bit upset to be learning about this now on podcast with the Loose Screws, Steve. And if you could like hook me up with your cheese and bread guy, I feel like you should.
Now wait a minute. I just want to back up just 1 second. You said your cheese guy has a van?
Yeah, so it's like a what's that called when you go and there's like stalls and everything set up?
A market.
A market. That's it. It's like a wee market.
Like a food truck.
Yeah,
I was picturing like the free candy van that would abduct you using cheese. I would have disappeared years ago.
Exactly. It's like, ooh, brie. Ooh.
It's just a white van with like cheese spray painted on the side really badly.
Yeah.
Well, 38 minutes in, we're finally getting to the meat of the situation.
Steve opens the door, goes in, and there's a guy just like the big long coat, and he just opens it up. It's got various cheeses.
And he just says, "Say cheese." That's what it's called. The van's called.
Ever since Chig joined Loose Screws, it has turned into cheese chat at some point. What is happening to my podcast?
I know you're losing control here. You need to get it back.
Well, I've got to get over across the pond and come see your cheese guy. I'm super excited about that now.
Yeah, if we ever get the chance, I'll get us some good cheese. I'll get some good cheese and some wine.
Excellent.
I've got a wine shop as well. I don't have a wine guy yet, but I've got a wine shop.
Sounding like you got a guy for everything.
Oh, I
Nearly
do.
got the trifecta.
I genuinely, like, I'm back home and I'm just like, oh, I need a haircut. It's like, I know a guy.
This is awesome.
Oh man, who would have thought that Stephen Benedetti would be the most what's the right word? Most cultured man out of everybody.
It's the Italian
Perfect.
surname. I've got a stereotype to live up to.
Yeah, I want to come over and have some haggis and cheese.
Oh Lord.
Oh, you wouldn't put haggis on cheese. That's
No, I'd
like
have cheese on the side. I'm not having haggis.
Oh, yeah.
Cheese in my haggis. Yeah, that would be bizarre. Not that haggis isn't bizarre enough already. Come on.
Haggis is phenomenal. Haggis, neeps, and tatties. That's what you want.
Actually,
Yikes.
I worked with this Scottish guy years ago, and he made me some haggis, and I enjoyed it. It was
I love
really well done. Of course, he kept saying, "I got to use these damn American ingredients." So,
Yeah, it's do you know what? It's one of those things that I found myself doing when I was down in England. Do you know what a square sausage is?
I do not know.
It's in the name. It's a square flat sausage. It's not circular like a Lorne sausage, not like a long sausage. It's square, and it's very, very common in Scotland. Everybody, you get like a square sausage for your roll, but they don't do them in England.
Yeah, it's not a thing here. They are very good though.
They're delicious. So I was quite lonely one time in lockdown when I was in Cambridge, and I actually took the round sausage, opened it up, tried to flatten it to make myself a square sausage. It did not turn out well.
That's
So,
awesome.
I'm completely getting off the rails here, but is that the same thing as Lorne sausage?
Yeah, so it's quite similar. Square sausage is, I mean, if you go into Google, you'll see it. It's basically just kind of like a rectangle in a square, and it's thin, and you can get Lorne, you can get steak mince, it's just basically a flat sausage.
So it's a sausage like shaped so that you could use it as a sandwich in a sandwich.
Basically, yeah, you would have something
Okay.
we call them. What's the rolls called? A Morton's roll. And a Morton's roll is a really, really crispy roll. So you get that crunch, and then in between it, you would probably have a square sausage. I'm getting myself hungry. A black pudding, and maybe like an egg, and that would be what you put in, and it'd be perfect.
I did try the black pudding
Yep, me
when
too.
I was over there, and I couldn't handle it. I couldn't do it. Yeah, I don't know.
It's a unique flavor.
It's something I would have to get used to it. You're there on a trip, and you try it one time, and who knows if it's even a good place. It's kind of like whatever a signature food is for a place. I'm sure you can't just go in anywhere and expect it to be perfectly awesome. But anyway.
Well, the kind of last thing I was wanting to ask you guys about is that, and you may not be able to tell me this, but are we going to see more things or more livery stuff with the fleet carrier, or are they kind of set the way they are for the time being?
Bruce,
I'll let you go.
No, Bruce, on you go.
I was just going to say, I'm not aware of any other livery options in the works at the moment. I don't know if you are, Stephen, but
No, it's
one of those things where I don't think we have anything planned. But if it's something the community want, we can look to push for that, and maybe in the future we'll get more options added.
Yeah, I'm missing my favorite paint job for it, so come
Okay,
on.
well, to flip it on you then, what would you like to see for the fleet carrier livery options?
The pure black, like
Just
paint,
black.
Just pure black. What's it called?
Midnight black.
The midnight black.
Typically a holiday color, isn't it?
Yeah, we normally
have one
give
sort of
that
another?
and holidays. But that's the other thing, like the really good thing, like we are constantly every week releasing livery paint jobs and stuff for the ships. And as Bruce says, we don't have anything to announce on fleet carrier livery options, but that's not saying that they're not in work and they won't be coming in the future. And as soon as they do get decided, we will definitely be I need to stop saying shouting from the rooftops, because last time that happened I got asked to literally go on a rooftop and shout about fleet carriers, so HR was not happy about that. So yeah, but we'll obviously be talking about it.
Good deal.
I'd have to assume the bulk of the development team right now is full steam ahead on Odyssey, right?
So obviously when it comes to game development, there's focus and there's time on the projects that we're working on, and our team is obviously focused on the live game as well as Odyssey. But as you can imagine from the lovely slither that we've given you, it's very ambitious. We're very excited about it. It's big. It's going to be really exciting. So focus is on that just now, but that doesn't mean that we are putting anything else to the kind of wayside. It's just all about redistribution of time and content of what we're doing.
Actually, yeah, that was one of the things that we had talked about asking, was just sort of in general terms how things kind of end up being organized there, which is sort of what you just touched on. Like there are probably certain people who are working on different aspects of it. Like I'm assuming there's sort of like a answering support requests. That's probably a dedicated set of people. So does Frontier have people who are working on story elements, and then a separate team that are working on graphics, and a separate team that are working on like the mechanicals and the servers and things like that? Or are they much more mixed, or how does that kind of shake out?
Yeah, absolutely. So like sort of most businesses, a games studio will have obviously lots of different teams and departments made up of those teams. Stuff that makes me laugh is, so just go back to paint jobs real quick. This last week we released Osiris was the theme, and it's these sort of black and gold paint jobs. I think there are about 6 of them in total, including the Phantom, Viper, Python, some of those ships. And players really like them. They look awesome.
They're beautiful.
Which is nice. Instead of like 90% of the comments being, why are you making paint jobs instead of developing the game? We only had like 50% maybe, which was good.
Wonderful.
But yeah, that kind of comment always like makes me laugh and cry at the same time, because I think while maybe some of it's sarcastic, some people like genuinely don't really know how resourcing kind of works in a big business and specifically in a game studio. So obviously the graphics team make these paint jobs. They're not the ones who are trying to balance mining with combat and stuff. That's totally different. That's something a game developer would do, of course. So yeah, it's very easy from the outside to look at a big studio and say, oh, well, they're really failing at this one thing, but they're still trying to do something else, and feel like resources are being mismanaged. But it's often just the case that those are different teams working on their own projects with their own blockers, time constraints. So yeah, that's something that's maybe not always obvious.
Yeah, I think it's quite funny, because we have had that on streams where people will go, stop streaming and go fix your game. And right. I don't know about Bruce, but I mean, I've done some game development in the past. I've done game jams, I've done that, but my C++ and skills and knowledge have nothing in comparison to the guys that we work with. I wouldn't know what to do. I would not be able to do the things that they can do as well in their level, but I can come on stream and talk to you about it. That's what I can do about it. So obviously we need to we have dedicated teams of people to focus on these things, and they are fantastic. But again, like Bruce said, it all kind of comes into that. We are good at what we do and we help out where we can, but there's a limit.
Well, just you guys being so much more out in the open lately, a lot more streams and doing shows like ours, and burr pit, and you guys show up all over the place is nice. And the new paint jobs coming out, no fleet carriers, the old the games in maintenance mode crowd has gone away for the most part. Gotta appreciate that, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's always good. I mean, like these voices that are concerned of different levels, but it's really important to remember that everybody who comments something on us is a passionate player who cares about the game, either in a good way or a bad way. And it's really, that's what's quite fun about our job, is we try and do things to make sure that everybody, no matter what they've said, is heard and is understood, because it's valid, and we want that feedback. We love how vocal and loud our community is, and like coming onto these things, coming onto these shows, sorry, is what I mean is like these things, I don't know what I think. Let's try that over here. Coming onto these shows originally started because of lockdown and because we were limited in our streaming ability, and we still have limitations, but we're starting to kind of get there a wee bit more with our streams on Thursday nights. But we're still not at the level we were when we were in the office, when we had the really cool stream series, and we got people on. So we've had lots and lots of different people on the show with us. But coming onto this show has kind of opened up a lot more to being able to be involved with people, and we really enjoy it. And it's something, even when we go back, that we would like to continue doing. And it's a lot of fun to come onto these things.
That is wonderful to hear.
I'm very thankful that you guys, I'm very thankful for what you guys do. The last thing I kind of want to ask you guys is about, Will leaving. And Will was kind of, for lack of a better term, he was kind of the face of Elite, kind of the head of the community managers. I don't know if this is an actual position, but I think he was there the longest out of everybody, at least this current round of crew. But you guys have had a fair amount of shakeup in the last few months. You guys got it nailed down who's going to be the face or the lead yet?
Well, this is the problem. I think I'll be the voice, and I think Bruce would be the face, and then you've got Tim being the brains, and then Arthur the mastermind. That's the way I would put it out.
That's accurate, I think.
I think
no. So it's quite interesting that you say that. It's the way that the kind of community management role works for us is that you've probably seen a lot more of me than you have of Bruce, and that's just because I was here and I was streaming with Will and we were coming up stuff. But it doesn't mean that Bruce isn't a forward face. We are both technically the face of Elite Dangerous, as well as Tim, as well as Arthur. You just might see some of us more than others. My focus is a lot on the forums, as well as obviously our communication plans and standards. But I deal with a lot of the streaming and doing the live stuff. Not saying that I'll go on all the time, but that's kind of one of my main focuses. Will was a really important figure because he's a great community manager. But at the time, as you know, Ed Lewis, he moved on to a different job. He got another job elsewhere. And then it was Paige and Will, and then I came on, which then made the team a wee bit bigger, so that I started then going on with Will, and then Bruce joined, and then obviously we found out that now Will's moving on to PM and Tim's joined, and now we're all going to be there. So it's really who's your favourite CM at the end of the day and you want to speak to, or we're all here for you. We're all here to talk.
We
to
get
everybody.
to choose.
You get to choose. You have an abundance of choice.
Well, why wasn't Tim here? I'm just kidding. I appreciate that Tim, we're in his rotation of Discords that he pops in and he just says hi and drops news on us and stuff. It's good to see, a member of the team just dropping in on us.
It has felt really connected at a time when when the theme of the weeks was not being connected to people. It's felt absolutely the opposite of that from FDev, at least from my perspective.
Oh, we're really glad, and again, both having Bruce and Tim and Arthur come onto the team has been a breath of fresh air, and they've all came in with great skill sets and fantastic attitudes. And coming on, the reason that Tim's not on this is just because
he just doesn't like your show, I'm afraid, guys. Sorry to break. I'm joking. I'm joking.
No, I was actually about to say that there's the truth. I've got the front facing answer, which is obviously on Thursday and Monday nights we're always jumping on the shows. So what we do is we try and separate it up to help manage workload and to give sometimes people a wee break from it. Because it can be demanding coming on these shows, and at times if you're doing it constantly. But then the real answer is like I said, I do a lot of the management of the streams, and it's a power move, and I want Tim to know his place. So I'll pick the fun streams to go.
No, just so you guys know, like Frontier's communication with the community, Frontier's communication with the things that is kind of coming out and showing us, I feel like it's done a 180 as a company, because I feel like you guys kind of got quiet there for a little while, and I think that was mostly workload and COVID-19 type stuff. So
well, we're very, very pleased to hear you say that. Obviously, when I joined the CM team, before that it was obviously just Stephen and Will sort of manning the fort and keeping the whole sort of operation running. And now obviously with myself and Tim and Arthur, we've got a lot more resource to do this kind of thing. And with the COVID situation popping up, we really wanted to be connected with you guys, especially at a time when everyone's sort of isolated and separated from each other. So to hear that's worked, at least to some extent, is really nice. And like Stephen mentioned earlier, we'd love to keep that momentum going, indefinitely.
You guys have done an amazing job, and I can't thank you guys enough. I can't thank you guys enough for coming on this stream. I do need to get Tim and Arthur on here, because I've only talked to Tim through text, and I need to. I love both y'all, but I'm gonna have to get them on here at some point. So
I feel like we're getting told not to come back, Bruce. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm starting to feel less welcome. No, I'm joking.
No. As long as you share your cheese guy, you're anytime.
This is why you've got to have a cheese guy.
Indeed.
But yeah, like you said, we're hoping to keep these up, and I would. Obviously, and it's the same to anyone's listening. If you do have a show, if you stream Elite Dangerous, please reach out to me. I will be the person that would be best to contact initially on that, and then, like we said, we would happily get the other guys on and come on. So getting Tim and Arthur to come on a Loose Screws is definitely something we can speak about in the future.
That's wonderful. Maybe at some point when the future comes around that there is anything new about Odyssey, we should make sure to rough in some time to have whomever wants to come and have another chat.
Yeah, of course. Again, I know at the start we spoke about Odyssey, and we can't touch too much on that topic. It's just the beginning for us. Our communications have just started to open up about them, and we understand it's frustrating because everybody wants to know here and now, but we're really looking forward to the next couple of months and getting to share this journey and obviously delve further into the next era of Elite Dangerous.
Yeah, well, that has to be exciting for you guys just to see how excited people got from a 77-second video and a handful of concept art, and everybody lost their freaking minds.
Yeah, it is amazing. The reception was fantastic, and we're very excited, like Stephen says, to share stuff with you. It's funny, a couple times on previous shows and various streams, Stephen and I have said, now that Fleet Carriers are launched, we can share all this exciting stuff with you guys. And before we had to kind of keep quiet about a lot of stuff, which was, it's always frustrating to keep stuff bottled up. But we're now back into that phase with Odyssey. So we're just going to sit tight and prepare the comms for you guys. And in the coming weeks and months, share what we can. And it's going to continue to be very exciting.
Stephen, did you ever get on a rooftop and shout it out like had been discussed?
Legally, I'm not allowed to confirm nor deny it.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Well, I think that's unless you guys have anything like big announcements y'all just want to go and spill out on the show. I mean, I guess that's where we're going to wrap it up. So.
Maybe next time.
Well, I can't thank you guys enough for joining us. I can't. I've really enjoyed this, and what you guys have done for us, for our community, for the elite community as a whole. I feel like there's been a great big change at Frontier, and you guys are now my favorite developers. And for 15 years, it was Blizzard. Actually, for about 20 years, it was Blizzard. Before even World of Warcraft, and you guys have done a great job. And I don't want to disparage anyone over at Blizzard, but get on the ball, guys. So this is the model. This is how you do it. So
fantastic. Well, thank you too for putting on the show that you do. It's because we have a community that's so engaged, enthusiastic, and organizes all these amazing events and radio shows, podcasts, videos, you name it. That just makes our jobs so much easier and more enjoyable because we've got so many players who are that passionate for us to interact with. So yes, it's always a pleasure to share that with you guys. And again, thank you so much for inviting us on today.
Yeah, thank you. It was nice to finally talk to you guys in voice chat, and it was a pleasure. Thank you.
All right, Chig. Any cheese remarks before we leave? Before we take us out?
We'll just say, stay cheesy, everybody.
Hey.
Thank you guys very much.
No, thanks for having us.
Thank you.